Do you think we're alone in the universe? This is one of the main questions that humans have asked until today. And now I'm going to be interviewing Dodge Adams, a senior at UNC, about what he thinks about that, and later I'm going to be clarifying some big misconceptions regarding to this subject. So we're going to start with a very simple question. Dodge, do you think we're alone in this universe that we live in?
It's a good question. I think that we are probably the only. I think that we are the only version of life that exists as something that is similar to us, like humans and animals that we see. But I think that there is a strong possibility that life exists somewhere else in this universe.
What about that? Do you think it's intelligent life like the aliens we see in movies, or is it just something simple like bacteria or like microorganisms?
I do not think that it is intelligent life like we see in the movies. I think it's all just Hollywood fun stuff. Um, I think that if it were life, it would be small organisms, eukaryotes, prokaryotes, I believe, like very simple forms of life, far away. And I think that there's also a strong possibility that this life may have existed billions of years ago, or and maybe has gone extinct. So I think that that's the stronger possibility as opposed to the aliens that we see in movies.
Nice. And why do you think that?
Um, I think that the odds of our society and our life is so impossibly low that for it to happen twice is just impossible. Not impossible, highly improbable. Um, and it's taken us billions of years to evolve from single-celled organisms to what we are today. And I just think it's way more likely that life at a very basic uh, in the basic sense exists. It just seems far more likely statistically than to have something like this. And also, we've evolved because of the certain conditions on Earth that have changed, and we've yet to find a planet that is identical to Earth, or at least very, very close. So, whatever planet that life exists on, the criteria to evolve would have been very different, meaning the end result, if they've had billions of years to evolve, would likely be very different than what we are today. So, no, I think it would be more single celled organisms.
Yeah, so do you think we'll ever be able to find life outside of the outside of Earth?
I think it's a possibility. Um, I think that I mean we've searched in our near solar system for hundreds of light years away and found nothing. So if that exists and if we find it, it would probably be thousands or maybe tens of thousands of light years away. And so if we were to find this life, it would kind of mean that we humans would have or interact with it. It would mean that humans would have to live for another 10,000, 100,000 years to even be able to find that. And I don't think that it's likely that humans will live that much longer on Earth before we are able to find something like that. So I think even if we do find it, I don't think we'll be able to interact with it in any sort of meaningful way, unless we can find a way to travel faster than the speed of light, which
Hmm.
seems impossible.
Makes sense. So would you ever go to space to find life? And if the answer is yes, what kind of planet would you look for first, like to have life in? Because I know there are different types of planets out there. There's like the gas planets, and there's just like the hottest ones. Like, where do you think would have the greatest possibility of just finding any sort of life?
Well, to answer the first part, I would absolutely go to space. That's a dream of mine, just like Katy Perry. To find life is a whole different thing. You'd have to go so far away that it would be a suicide mission. So I think it depends. I think if it's in the name of humanity and science, that would be pretty cool to go down as the Ferdinand Magellan of, modern times. Um, so probably, but and then to the second part of your question, where I would go. Um, I mean, I feel like we wouldn't send someone somewhere where we weren't certain of life, or at least, you know, it was a big possibility. But I wouldn't go to somewhere that's super hot. I would go somewhere that has water because water seems to be the basic building block that humans have evolved from. Um, Somewhere where, yeah, I guess where there's water and where there's carbon because I don't know if most planets have carbon, but I know we're carbon based. Um, but I don't know. It depends. There's a lot of different possibilities of planets that could potentially have life. So there you go.
Yeah, so if scientists found life tomorrow, what do you think that would mean for humanity? Like, what do you think would change overall to us?
Good question. I think that would have big implications for people in either atheistic and religious circles. I think there'd be questions to grapple with that. Um, Christianity, I know that there would definitely be some questions about that, and I don't know about other religions, but that would definitely be a talking point. I think in a lot of ways it would scare people, um, but I think also it would give people hope that maybe there's more out there, and we're only starting to scratch the surface of what else is out there for us to discover as humans. I think discovery and um, pioneering new ways of doing things has always been a very human thing, and finding new life would be a huge inflection point in our history of discovering what's out there. So,
Oh, that's nice. So question that I also have for you about alien life and everything. Do you think that if you were to search for alien life right now, what do you think would be like an effective way to do that? Like how would you think, like how would you try to like do that if you were a scientist?
it's a tough question. Um, I mean, if you can look for traces of traces of life, that even if there was if there was life on a planet at some point, but they have died, there likely would have left a couple of markers. Maybe food, or what they would potentially see as food would be. Well, I guess actually all food is life technically. Wheat, that's alive, right? Bread, plants, animals, it's all alive. So that's probably not a good way. Um, I think you just look for water, because that's probably like the easiest thing, right? You look for water to try to find life, um, and see if there's just creatures that respond to different patterns. Like if weather changes and the creatures decide to change. If basically like when plants will look at the sun, they'll grow towards the sun so they can respond to different characteristics, and that's a big thing that life does. So you look for different patterns of where they change depending on their circumstances, weather, stuff like that. Scientists probably know better than me, though.
So Dodge clearly has his thoughts on the matter. However, what does science actually have to say about this? Scientifically, we don't yet have proof that life exists elsewhere in the universe. However, there are strong reasons to believe that it might. There are over 100 billion galaxies in the universe, and each galaxy contains billions of stars. Around many of those stars, we know that planets exist. In fact, astronomers have already discovered thousands of planets outside our solar system, called exoplanets. Scientists are actively searching for life in several ways. One method is looking for chemical signs of life, called biosignatures, such as oxygen or methane, in the atmospheres of distant planets. Another approach involves listening for radio signals from intelligent civilizations through projects like SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. We're also exploring places closer to home, like Mars and moons such as Europa, which may have conditions suitable for life. In the past, humans believed that Earth was the center of the universe and that we were unique. This idea began to change during the 1500s, when scientists like Copernicus showed that Earth actually orbits the sun. Over time, we discovered that our sun is just one star among billions in our galaxy, and that our galaxy is just one of many in the universe. This dramatically changed how we think about our place in the cosmos. A very common misconception is that aliens would look like humans or the creatures we see in movies. In reality, if life exists elsewhere, scientists believe it is most likely to be simple, microscopic life, not advanced civilizations like those often portrayed in science fiction. Another misconception is that we would immediately recognize alien life, when in reality, it could be very different from anything we are familiar with on Earth. The situation is very similar to how people once believed Earth was the center of everything,
only to later discover a much larger and complex universe.
So Dodge, after hearing all of that, do you still think life exists somewhere else in the universe?
Yeah, I think after all that, there's definitely a high probability that it exists somewhere out there. I think that it's probably more likely than not, and I think it's a very exciting thought that a lot of people will be interested in learning about.
Thank you so much, Dodge. I hope I have taught you something today.
So while we don't have proof that life exists elsewhere, the sheer size of the universe and the number of planets out there suggest that we may not be alone. Whether it's simple bacteria or something more complex, the search for life beyond the Earth is one of the most exciting areas of modern science, and it's something that could completely change our understanding of the universe. Maybe one day we will have an answer.